When it comes to Kiambu County, they spend well above the recommended amount in terms of payroll. They have payments that are well over 8 million shillings without explanation. From one particular hospital, Gasharoro Hospital in Kiambu County, there was an overpayment without proper documentation to show how, where, and when, and who was paid these amounts of over 196 million shillings. Now, this is just but part of the Auditor General's report. The Auditor's General report shows us how much corruption we have in our counties. It shows how much of the corruption that dwells in the high places of the national government too, and how far it stinks. We have 1 million here, 1 million there, 1 billion spent here, 1 billion spent there. And before I forget, the county of the city in the sun, Nairobi County, spent 29 million shillings on furniture, which there is no proper documentation or approval. Yet we all know, for an institution or government entity to make any particular payment, there has to be a quotation, there has to be an approval, then there has to be the supply, then there has to be an issuance of the receipt, then the requisite payments are paid. My question, with a country that has an esteemed constitution that created an institution like the EACC, why are we having such occurrences? A disparity of 546 million on a payroll? That is $500 million. It can do 2-3 hospitals. It can stock medication in 2-3 hospitals. It can pay for chemotherapy, radiotherapy for cancer patients. It can pay for over 10 patients or 20 patients to have renal dialysis without having to pay a single coin from their pocket. And the legal fee issue has actually become one of the avenues that counties are siphoning public coffers through. It has become a loophole that they are exploiting, because anytime you ask them, we paid 1 billion shillings in legal fees, we paid 200 million shillings in legal fees, yet these counties have legal departments. What they do, the management of the county, is they ensure that the county attorney's office are understaffed. In one county, you're finding they only have 10 attorneys in that particular department against the recommended 42. We will save more to have 42 employees in a legal department on retainer and on salary from the county rather than paying an external firm. We will save more than half the money they are using. I tend to think these are corruption loopholes. But why the procurement officers and why the officers in charge of the county treasuries are walking free on the streets while this kind of plunder and this kind of stealing and wanton theft goes on in our country is something you and I can never fathom. These are some of the reasons we have poor delivery of services in some of these counties. Because all majority of these people think of is to fatten themselves, ensure the pockets have a lot of money. Isn't it ironic that they come to us during the campaign period giving us 1 million promises of how they'll give us better services as the next county government of the next governor who is elected into that county, telling us of how bad a person the former governor is, or the governor they are fighting is. Yet when they get to these seats of power, they continue with the wanton looting that this country can no longer afford. On a country whose domestic debt has risen to over 6 trillion shillings from 4.4 trillion shillings well over 2 years ago, adding over 2 trillion shillings in domestic debt. Yet we cannot see the amount of change and transformation that the 2 trillion has done in the country. I believe we can no longer afford such hemorrhage of public funds. A parting shot meant for you and I, because we are the citizens of this country and we behold the heritage of this country. When Nancy Gathongo went into the books of the Hustlers Fund scheme, or program, if I may call it, he found over 44,000 borrowers were either underage, some as young as 10 years, who had combined borrowed over 600,000 shillings, and well, some are not yet born. We have some borrowers who registered before their date of birth. Yes, we literally have borrowers in their mother's wombs who have already taken loans from Hustler Fund. Yet the minister or the CS of cooperatives was in parliament requesting for an extra 8.6 billion for the same program that is hemorrhaging funds in such a way. These are things that give us deja vu because they are akin to ghost workers, whom, by the way, in the auditor's general report, it was found that we still have a lot of ghost workers in counties. It is a shame that in a digital age like today, we can have ghost workers. At a time when we have biometric registration of government employees, that we can still have ghost workers. This looting must stop. We must come up with a way to save public funds. We must come up with a way to ensure that we did not devolve corruption, but we devolved services. And to the governors who are doing an excellent job in their counties, congratulations. That is the way to go. That is how leadership should be exercised. To those governors who have come up with these flimsy reasons to siphon public funds from the county coffers, shame on you. Your day is coming. A day will come in this country where all the looters and thieves and those who have milked our country dry to fatten their pockets will be answerable for the heinous crimes they have committed against our country. That is my 2 cents on today's Unfiltered Insight.